So when we left off at the last video, we were taking a look at the ways that race was differently defined and categorized throughout the history of the United States based off of the census and the definitions they used for race. So the different constructions of race in the US are further evidence that race is socially constructed, again, meaning that we as a society give meaning to races and racial differences. So the way people are categorized into races has changed significantly throughout U.S. history, like we looked at the U.S. Census data. The socially constructed criteria used to define people as white or black today are very different than they were in the past. At different points in time in history, the United States used different criteria to determine whether or not a person qualified as black. For instance, at one point in time, we had what were considered one-drop rules, which means that if a person could have any African-American lineage traced to their ancestry, even if it was a great-great-great-grandparent, if they had one drop of African-American blood running through their veins, they would be legally categorized as African-American and could subsequently be enslaved or treated inferiorly based on their race. Even if they had very fair skin and appeared to be white or of some different race, if they were traced to have one drop of black ancestry, they would be categorized as black. So it wasn't just about skin color. At times, it was based off of laws or policies that were written in place by white people in order to maintain this power differential, to keep people in a position of privilege and power, which of course is a very conflict theory argument, which we'll take a closer look at in just a bit here. Right? In the early 1900s, white-skinned Irish and Italian people were also not considered to be white. People that were descendants of Ireland and Italian who immigrated to America or who were shipped here for indentured servitudes were not considered to be white. So in the census, they would have been categorized probably within that other category because there was a clear cultural and power distinction between white European settlers that predominantly came from the United Kingdom or from Britain specifically versus white settlers that came from other European contexts and colonies, right? So it's interesting to consider how the meanings that we assign to different races, to different ethnicities have shifted across time, but all of this variance in the way that race and ethnicity have been defined and categorized just provides further evidence to the social construction of race in our society. All right. So let's take a closer look at how race and subsequently racism even were developed in the first place. If these things were social constructs, it means that we as society created them, we gave meaning to them. So why and when did race become a thing in the first place? Well, like I mentioned in the previous video, the concept of race, this idea that there are different races of humankind, is only a few hundred years old. It can actually be traced back to about the mid-1400s. And during that time, European colonists were very ethnocentric. If you think back to our discussion on the sociology of culture, ethnocentrism is this idea that your own culture of the society that you're a part of is superior to others, and it frames the way that you view other cultures. Specifically, it makes you view other cultures through a lens of inferiority. You think you're the best. You think no one else measures up. Well, European colonists at this time, were very powerful. The European colonies were, and so they had a lot of pride in themselves and in their culture, and they used their ethnocentric ideals to justify the enslavement of Africans based on their self-perceived intellectual and cultural superiority. Now, it's interesting to note that at this point in time, there were several civilizations in Africa that were amongst the most advanced in the entire world at that time. But white people, specifically these European colonizers, wanted to use their skin tone as justification that they were a more superior species in comparison to people of color, specifically in this particular example to Africans. So they created this rhetoric, this narrative that people that had darker skin tones were less civilized, that they were less intelligent, that their cultures were in all ways inferior, and therefore that justified the enslavement of them from by these white colonizers. So white nations and colonies would create laws and policies in their own nations that would legalize slavery and endorse these false claims of racial superiority. Again, if you remember back to our discussions on cultures and ethnocentrism, there's nothing that makes one culture inherently better or superior than the other, right? All of our cultures are different. That's the beautiful thing about cultural diversity. But people tend to have ethnocentric ideas that allow them to evaluate their own culture as superior to others. And it just so happened to be that in this context, these colonizers, these European colonizers, would invade these African countries, imprison millions of Africans, load them up onto ships, and through the transatlantic slave trade, they got dispersed across, the New World. And that's how slavery and this idea of race and subsequently racism was established. There was no justification, no scientific grounding that Africans were in any way inferior or intellectually insuperior to these white colonizers. That was just the rhetoric that white colonizers created. They established it in the structures of their society by codifying it through laws and policies, and those same practices were transferred to what is now the United States by those same European colonizers when they came to the Americas. So the United States was built on a foundation of racism. Racism and slavery existed in the United States before the United States was even a country, right? The United States, we're a baby nation. 1776 is not that long ago. Before our country was even established, there were European colonizers here that were using slaves and using slavery as a justifiable means based off of these laws and policies and rhetoric that they created, that they defended on the only justification or basis that they had was that they were white and they thought they were better, and they built that into the laws that enabled them to justify this disgusting treatment of people of color. So the United States was built on a foundation of racism. Like I said, racism existed here in this land in what is currently the United States centuries before the United States even existed as a country on its own. And we see this from the genocide of Native Americans to the enslavement of African Americans. White colonists established the United States on the premise of racism, on the premise that people of different races are worth different values. If you are white, you are valued more. If you are a person of color, you are valued less. And we see this. There were 12 million Native Americans in what is now the United States by the year 1500. By the 1900s, that was down to less than 250,000 people. And part of that is just because hundreds of thousands of them were slaughtered by these white colonists that came in and wanted to take over their land. And millions more were killed by the diseases like smallpox and measles that Europeans brought over that Native Americans had never been exposed to before. 12 million Africans were brutally abducted and shipped to the New World during the transatlantic slave trade. And roughly 500,000 of them ended up in America, where they were considered the property of slave owners and colonists at that time. So we cannot deny this history of the United States. And unfortunately, our current education system in the United States doesn't do a very good job at all of accurately representing the brutality of slavery and to be straight up, the disgusting history of our nation and what it was built on. History books notoriously try to sugarcoat slavery and say things like, oh, very few people were actually slave owners in what is currently the United States. Many slaves were treated with love and dignity by their slave owners and considered them part of the family. And that's just horseshit. I'm not going to go into all the details here. I'm not a historian, but I'd gladly provide you with historical works that defend these claims. That's just another example of using white privilege to ameliorate our own sense of guilt or shame that we as white people may have, to justify the slavery that existed in the United States in our history, and as an extension of that, to justify the continued existence of racism here in society today. So we cannot ignore the racist history of our country, especially if we want to have meaningful conversations in the present about the current situation of racism and how racial inequality is still a rampant problem in our society today. We cannot turn a blind eye to our history, because we need to see these connections between history and biography, right? Like Mill said, with the sociological imagination, in order to go up into that hot air balloon and to see this bigger picture about how race continues to affect society today, we need to understand the history. We need to understand where it came from and why it started in the first place. And in the context of race, race was socially constructed by white people to create a power dynamic so they could justify the enslavement and ownership of people of color based off of nothing more than their own ethnocentric biases. And that's the reality. And that's very different than the stories that were told in elementary school, in middle school, and high school when we take our history classes. And that's because the majority of our history books are written by, you guessed it, white people, right? White people shaping the narratives of history based off of the stories that they've been told by their white ancestors before them. If we had history books written by African Americans in this country that were as widely disseminated as the ones written by white people, maybe we'd be having more meaningful conversations in the present moment. So what are some of the consequences of race and racism? Well, while human racial groups are not biological categories, race as a social reality, as a way of structuring societies and experiencing the world, is very real. So what I'm saying here is not to say that since race is something that's socially constructed, it doesn't mean anything. If we gave it meaning, we can change the meaning. While that's true, we can't deny the very physical and tangible consequences that the social construction of race has had on people today. So, this quote that comes from the American Association of Physical Anthropology, virtually every association from psychology to sociology has a statement about race and racism, and the consensus across all fields of science is conclusive. Race is not inherently biological, it is socially constructed. It doesn't matter what field of science you look at, they are going to tell you the same thing. Like I said before, humans are 99.9% genetically identical in terms of our DNA or makeup. There's nothing about our racial differences that make us inherently different from one another. It's the meaning that we assign to physical differences, like skin color, that have profound consequences on the way people are treated in our societies. So again, race was created and used by white people to solidify and justify power dynamics in Europe and eventually the United States. And as a conflict theorist would tell us, right, conflict theory is very useful here. Remember, from this perspective, life is a competition for scarce resources, and people who have more resources have more power in our society. Those people that have more resources we'll call dominant groups, which is a term we'll return to later on in these lecture videos. So dominant groups use their power to set up society in ways that help them keep their power, and this often happens at the expense of further oppressing minority groups. So some people might question, well, if race is something that was socially constructed and we can understand and see why racism is bad in society today, why can't we get rid of it? And it's because from a conflict theory perspective, people in power want to maintain their power. Whether or not us white people like to admit it, we feel like we benefit or have something to gain when we are not being oppressed because of the color of our skin. And we'll look at more at some data and some examples that justify this in following videos here. So how does the history of racism affect U.S. society today? Well, for centuries, white people in the U.S. had access to resources that were not accessible to people of color. The Emancipation Proclamation may have abolished slavery in the 1860s, and the Civil Rights Act may have made it illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, but that does not erase the centuries of institutionalized racism and oppression that people of color experience. Racism did not dissolve when slavery was abolished. That did not change people's ideologies, their beliefs, their value systems, the biases and prejudice that they were socialized to have. And examples of this, we can look to our history to prove this. You know, even after the Emancipation Proclamation, there were things like Jim Crow laws and black codes in southern states that enabled the legal discrimination against black people and their further oppression in society until as late as the 1960s. So we're only looking at about 50 years ago. Up until about 50 years ago, it was still totally legal for people to be discriminated against based on the color of their skin. Just a few examples of this. Black people could be fined if they were working in any occupation other than farming or domestic servitude, and people of color continued to face barriers in accessing quality education, property ownership, and voting. So how can we expect to be on a level playing field in terms of race if, as little as 50 years ago, this type of discrimination was still legal in our country.